I'm not a giant Hillary Clinton fan, and one of the reasons why I'm not is I think she's a politician, and I don't think she's a genuine person. I just don't. I think you get to a level of lying and the way they conduct themselves and the way they've been doing it for so long that they don't even think it's a bad thing. It's just a thing you do. But one of the weirder ones that I ever saw from her was after the Libya, after Gaddafi was killed, where she was not on the record, but she was still being recorded. They were talking to her. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Where she said, "We came, we saw. What was it? We came, we saw him. He died. What was the exact? I don't remember the exact quote.
Yeah. We came, we saw, and he's dead, or something like that.
Yeah, and she was laughing.
Yeah.
Like literally laughing.
But this is exactly what I'm talking about that cavalier attitude within Washington. And for me, that was really the main reason why in 2016 I was a vice chair of the Democratic National Party. As an officer of the party, you're supposed to stay neutral in these Democratic primaries. But it got to a point where I felt I stepped down from that position, resigned as vice chair to endorse Bernie Sanders, largely because of the huge difference in their worldviews with Hillary Clinton's very hawkish interventionist foreign policy and track record. Libya is a very prominent and recent example. Iraq is another, and Bernie Sanders, who generally takes a more non-interventionist worldview. That was an issue again. Like as we're talking about, people weren't really raising the differences. They're saying, oh, she was Secretary of State, so she's great on foreign policy, but not actually looking at what is the actual policy.
Right.
And what kind of judgment would either of these individuals have when they're serving in that most important job of commander-in-chief? And that was a very key difference, and that was something I talked about a lot as I campaigned with Bernie around the country, and that was something that I saw and heard from people in, big cities, small towns, Midwest, North, South, East, West, people who appreciated just being told the truth.
Well, there was also the speeches that she gave where she wouldn't give up the transcripts for those gigantic paid speeches that she gave in front of bankers.
Wall Street.
Yeah, which is crazy that's legal. I mean, that is essentially, look, there is no way she is so entertaining. I mean, we're not talking about a Jay-Z concert or Kevin Hart isn't doing stand-up. They paid her $250,000 to talk for an hour. Like, that's not real. Okay, they're not really paying you $250,000 because you're so awesome. They really want you to talk for an hour. This is some sort of a bribe. This is some sort of a deal. You're making a business arrangement. There's no question about it. There is no way that it's that valuable. Yeah. It's just not. Her talking for an hour. What a hot ticket. Jesus, how do I get a hold of that ticket? I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that someone could play that off as if this is a legitimate business transaction, that's nonsense.
Yeah. And there's a direct correlation there, though, with Wall Street big money in general, as you're talking about that influence on politics. I was talking with a guy who's, what do you call himself, a recovering kind of finance guy from Wall Street who's left and has now come here to LA. And he talked directly about that. And we were talking about how even after 2008, all the too big to fail banks, they were bailed out and people are suffering. They're losing their homes, their pensions, and all of this stuff. These banks are bigger today than they were back then. And over time and even over the last few years, Congress is slowly, and this is not just Republicans, there are Democrats who are on the take too, who are taking this Wall Street money. And you're starting to see these bills pass, peeling away the very small amount of regulations that were put on after that crash to get us back to an even worse situation than we were back in 2000. Why? How could we allow this to happen? There's a ton of money that's coming from Wall Street and funding politicians' campaigns, lobbyists who are there helping to write the legislation or kill the bad bills. And again, who's talking about this?
No one.
Right.
Very few people. How do you stop that, though? Like, how do you stop the funding their campaigns, A, and then the paid speeches, B? Those two things alone. If you could just cut that out and say,
Yeah.
no, you have to be legitimate. I mean, love or hate Bernie Sanders, you've got to respect the fact that guy never took any money from anybody.
That's right.
And he said, I'll give you all my transcripts because I don't have any. I didn't get paid to do any speeches.
Yeah.
And he's clean.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason why he can say that. And Hillary just ignored it.
Yeah.
I mean, she just didn't respond. She didn't say, I'll give you the transcripts, because all I said was, I love America and we're going to fix everything and you bankers are dirty. You know, but it's just.
Yeah, they don't pay you to call them names.
No, exactly. But it's just so strange that well, it's not strange in terms of the real obvious benefit. If you're going to be a politician and you want to run for office, it's incredibly expensive to win. So you need some money. So you have to make deals with people who are willing to give you some of that money, and you've got to figure out a way to be able to do this and still convince the people that have to vote for you that you're on their side.
Yeah. And this is where that narrative is being disproven, that somehow if you run for office and if you want to serve people within that political realm, that you have to go and kowtow to the corporate interests and the people with the big money in order to be able to fund a campaign, in order to win, so you can do good work for the people, but also you told these other guys you were going to make them happy too. I don't take any corporate PAC money or contributions from PACs or lobbyists or anything else. And there are more candidates running this year. There's over 100 candidates running for Congress this year who have sworn off any of those types of contributions and who run their campaigns fueled by individual donors. Whether it's people giving $5, people giving more if they can give more, and they're winning. There are a number of candidates who are showing that they're outraising their opponents who are backed by PACs and lobbyists. They're raising more money from people who are giving these small dollar contributions and disproving that power balance where the people really do have the power if we stand up and get engaged and involved.